Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 85 of Pera's Playbook. Today I'm joined by Coach Trent Figg of the Calvin University football team. Coach, how's it going?
It's going really well. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, of course. Is it nice down there? It's a beautiful day up here in the UP.
It is, I'm telling you, it's incredible outside today. I wish I was outside right now, but it's not. It is really nice. The sun's shining, the sky's blue. It's a good day.
Are you guys still doing spring practice or did you wrap up yours?
Yeah, we wrapped our practice up on April 22nd. So our players took finals last week. And then they've got a couple weeks off here. Then they'll jump into summer workouts starting on May 20th.
Okay, exciting. Kind of gearing up for the first season.
Yes, it is. Yeah, let me tell you, they don't write a book for starting a new program. But I'm telling you what, it's been so much fun so far.
Yeah, and we'll dive into that here in a little bit. So, I guess a little bit of background on you. We can kind of talk about your coaching journey. I know you played at William and Jewell, and then you started coaching immediately after playing. So, like when you were in your final season playing, was that on your radar? Hey, I want to get into coaching. This is something I'm really interested in.
Yeah, so I always thought I was going to go back to my hometown in Chillicothe, Missouri, and coach football there, coach high school football there. That was always that was my plan, right? And just towards the end of my last season, my college coach, he's like, man, I really think you should try this college thing. I think you'd be really good at it. I think you should give this thing a try. So when you finish up, why don't you be, basically a free coach for us? And I did, man. I jumped in and I haven't looked back since that day. It's been a really cool journey. I've been blessed. Some people would call it unfortunate. I've been very fortunate to work in every United States time zone. I've coached at every level of college football. It's been a really cool journey.
Yeah, right. You've been at some big programs in various roles. You were a grad assistant at Arizona State.
Yep.
You were at Missouri State, Arkansas State. So, you've been to a lot of programs. Do you think that is a benefit, to a coach kind of growing your resume? You get to see how different programs do it and you can kind of just take pieces and then put it together.
Yeah. Growing through my coaching journey, there was times I was frustrated because, there's a lot of coaches that, man, I'm just an O-line coach, or I'm a quarterback coach, or I'm this, or I'm that. And early on in my career, I played defense in college, and my first job at William Jewell was coaching running backs on the opposite side of the ball. Then I moved to linebackers there. Then I went to Arizona State on defense, Southern Arkansas on defense, Missouri State on offense, Hawaii on defense, Oregon on offense. And, I always wondered why, but I really feel like, God had that plan for me to really develop me for this role that I'm in now, because I've seen both sides of the ball. I've been a special teams coordinator. So, sometimes I say jack of all trades, master of none. But it's been really cool to see the game through a bunch of different lenses at a bunch of different levels. But at the end of the day, what it all comes back to, man, is football wherever you go. The field's the exact same length, it's the exact same dimensions, exact same rules. Everybody from Friday night to Sunday at noon, they're running essentially the same plays with the same goal. So it's about being at a place where you love the people, where you're supported to do what you need to do to win.
Yeah. That's it's a good way to look at it. I feel like a lot of people try to dive way too deep sometimes.
Yeah.
Looking for, it had to be something really special there, something really unique. But
Yeah. No, my journey's been so cool. And there's been so many cool things along the way at every different stop that I've learned. But at the end of the day, it's all about people. It's all about teaching the fundamentals of the game. And if you can coach one position and you can teach, you can learn to coach a different one.
Yeah. So I've always wondered, looking at coaching staffs, what like an offensive or defensive analyst does, that like specific title. And that's what you were when you were at Oregon. It's like, what is that role?
Yeah, so it's different. The analyst role has really developed over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's different everywhere you go. Some analysts are drawing playbook pages and doing installs. Some guys are breaking down film. Some guys are working hand in hand with the coordinator or the position coach. I was fortunate. So Dan Lanning at Oregon, he and I are good friends, played college football together. We were roommates. I was in his wedding, he was in my wedding. And so I did a lot with him specifically when I was there. So I did a lot of our team content with him, did a lot with him on game day as far as situational play goes. And then throughout the course of the week, I worked with our offensive coordinator. I was an advanced scout. So I was working on by trade, I'm a defensive person. And so I was always working on the next opponent. So then Sunday at 1 o'clock, I would sit down with Coach Dillingham and say, hey, over the last week, we're getting ready to play team XYZ this week. I've spent the last week working on them, and here's what I have found. And I would give him a report presentation on Sundays. And then Sunday night, I would start on the following opponent. For the offense, and then for Coach Lanning, I was working with him a lot on a lot of our team meeting content, team content, things like that.
He's doing a great job at Oregon. It's really
Yeah,
cool to see him like reviving that program because it was such a historic program and it kind of had a low period. And what he's doing there is awesome. They should have a great team this coming year too. I mean, he did a great job in the portal and recruiting and everything. I mean, big shoes to fill with Bo Nix leaving and some of
yeah,
those Bucky Irving and some of those
yeah,
guys, but he's definitely doing amazing things there. And just from interviews and stuff I've seen, he seems like an awesome guy.
yeah. He is. One thing that's great about Dan is Dan's never changed. I mean, Dan is the same guy that he was when he was 18-year-old. Whenever I met him, right? He's just full of energy. He's going to
Yeah.
work harder than anybody in the room, and he's going to work. His deal is, man, he's going to work to be the best every single day. There's no job. I mean, he'll still walk through the building and pick up trash. He'll break down film. He'll do whatever he needs to do.
Yeah. That's awesome because I feel like sometimes you get some head coaches at high universities who I'm the top, so you got to do this work for me to make my job easier. So
Yep.
it's good to see somebody who's willing to do whatever it takes.
Yep, that's exactly what he does every day.
So what do you think about the whole Pac-12 ending and, Oregon obviously moved to the Big Ten and different teams going other places? I mean, obviously you were in the Pac-12 coaching at Oregon and now it's not even a conference anymore.
Yeah, the Pac-12 was a great conference whenever I was there. I was a part of two different teams in the Pac-12. I think that regional conferences are great. I think that, this new kind of expansion, new wave, it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun from a national TV standpoint. I think there'll be some matchups now that are, yearly rivalries that are really cool. I think it's sad to see some of those other ones come to an end for sure. Um, but I think this is just a part of the natural change within college athletics right now. And so, yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, it can be very positive.
Right. Yeah, I think in the end it'll be good. There's a lot of people. It's change is scary, obviously for a
Right.
lot of things. So in the beginning, it might not look the best, but Oregon and some of those teams being in the Big Ten is going to be great for the Big Ten. I mean, it just raises the level of competition, and
For sure.
so that'll be great. So, how did the Calvin thing come about for you? I mean, was becoming a head coach always kind of on your radar? I want to build my own team and I want to be the guy, kind of lead the way.
Yeah, no, I have. I've always wanted to be a head football coach, and I never knew when or where that was going to be. Um, and I've always tried to take it just one step, one place at a time, and be where my feet are. So I was at the University of Oregon, really, enjoyed my job there, loved the people there. My wife and kids loved it there. And it was December of 2022, I guess. And I got a message from the provost at Calvin University. I'd never heard of Calvin before. And he said, "Hey, we're doing a national search for our first ever head football coach. Your name has come up twice through different search groups, and we wanted to reach out and see if you'd be interested in exploring this option." And my initial answer was, I don't know. I'm in a pretty good place right now, and he continued to explain to me what Calvin was and what they thought it could be. And so I actually interviewed 5 times for the job. 3 times they interviewed me, twice I feel like I interviewed them. Um, and then whenever I got on campus, it was a deal that was, how do I say no? It was,
Right.
I got offered the job. I was on campus that night before I left. They offered me the job, and it was obviously tough to leave where I was at, but man, this place is really cool. We've got a really special thing building here. And it's been a really fun process. I never thought that I would start something from the ground floor like this. But boy, it has been a lot. It's a ton of work, right? But
Yeah.
it's been a ton of fun. We have a great support system here in place. I wouldn't have come if I didn't think it could be right. Um, I feel really positive about where this is going. Obviously, we'll be the youngest team in America next year.
Yeah.
um, but there's a ton of positive, man, and we're building this thing the right way in the right direction.
Yeah. So once you got the job with building it, was it your job then to assemble a staff, or
Yeah,
did you work together with the university, with the athletic department, or was it kind of like you got to pick who you wanted to be on your staff?
yeah. So I got to pick. So I got hired. My press conference was January 18th at 6 a.m. on January the 19th. I walked in my office and looked around and said, "Here we go." Right there was didn't own a helmet, didn't own a football, didn't own a set of shoulder pads, not one other staff member, not one player. So the first 90 days were all personnel driven. So hiring a staff, recruiting a roster, right? And so I mean, I was a year late in the recruiting process for the 2023 class, and so we started day one recruiting that class. Put together a class of 62 players. They've been here all year, so we had an abbreviated fall camp, and then we had a fall practice season where we didn't play other games. But if you were to come on a Tuesday afternoon, it looked like we were getting ready to play on Saturday. Then we went through winter conditioning, went through spring ball, and then we've now recruited another class. So this fall will be right at 110 players when we report for camp in August.
How did you kind of pitch that to kids? Hey, come to our team, but you can't play a game for a year. We're just going to be practicing and building towards something. Was that hard to get kids to buy into that?
Yeah, so I felt like through the entire thing, my job was to tell these kids the truth. And so Calvin University sells itself as an institution. And when you look at our model for athletic success here, I mean, when you walk in our gymnasium, there's 11 national championship banners. When you look this past fall, we had 10 teams ranked in the top 25 at one point. There's a model in place here to be really successful. And so when Calvin does something, whether it's mow the grass or start a football program, they want to be the very, very best. And so that's the vision that we were able to give to kids was, hey, look at what's already been done here. I mean, we have a 99% placement rate for our graduates. 85% of our guys do internships. Our soccer teams won 12 conference championships in a row. Like, look at the success that's already
Yeah.
happening here. We wouldn't start football if we didn't think football could fall right in line. So it wasn't a random, like it's not a random football startup. There's a lot of thought that went into this, and you just have to share with people what that vision is.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I think it's easier when, everything kind of you said, having an athletic program that's got success
Yeah,
opposed to one that doesn't.
for
So I'm
sure.
from Houghton Hancock, Michigan, up in the
Yeah.
UP originally, and
Yep.
Finlandia University
Yep.
was there until it closed.
Yep.
And I can't remember 2014 or whatever,
Yep.
they started a program and
Yep.
they never could really
Right.
get it going. But they didn't have a strong athletic program in really any other sport either. And I feel like there were years where they had 40 kids on the roster. They
Yeah.
barely had enough to go both ways and have a couple subs. So I mean, I kind of saw maybe, and I'm not trying to throw shade at their
Yeah. No.
program
No.
or
I'm with you.
anything,
Yeah. For
but
sure.
it's how hard it is I guess what I'm getting at to
Yeah.
start a new program
It
from
is.
scratch.
Yeah. It is. It's hard. I'll say this. I did a ton of research on Calvin before I came here. And when you look at our location, you look at the product we have to sell, you look at the rich history of athletic success here. It's a no-brainer that football can and will work here. Obviously, it's going to take time if you build it the right way. But there's a model, there's a blueprint in place here for it to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, kind of going off of that, like now you've got to try to create a culture and kind of an identity for your team. How do you go about doing that when there's no history in football? I mean, there's a history of athletic
Yep.
success across the board, but not specifically for football.
Yeah, so it's definitely you can't push copy paste from any other program, right? We're building this thing specific to Calvin. And so one of the first things I did was just have to take a look at, okay, what is every other team doing to be successful here? What are some of the just foundational principles that this place is built on? And so when you look at Calvin Athletics, we are a blue collar athletic department. I mean, people roll up their sleeves and go to work. And so, we have, if you were to say, like, what's the mission statement of the football program? Our mission statement is building champions for life, right? So we want to build young men to be champions for life. And we talk about that in four areas. So in the classroom, on the field, in the community, and in champions of our faith. And so those are the 4 areas where we're striving to be champions for life. And then we have 4 core DNA traits. And so as I looked at Calvin, this is not copy and paste from anywhere else. So we look at connection, grit, intention, and joy. And so we go through all 4 of those key DNA traits, and that's what makes up our program. So our entire vision, our entire framework is built off of building champions for life, and our DNA is connection, grit, intention, joy. And so when we talk about those things every single day, it starts to paint the picture of what our
Yeah.
program can and will look like.
Right. And I mean, you've been with your initial recruiting class now for almost a year. So
Yeah,
are you starting to kind of see things take
for
place? I mean,
sure.
kids are buying into the message
Yep,
and they're all
absolutely.
for it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, these kids are awesome, man. And coming into a program and not playing for a year, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could have done that. I mean, that's a really, really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But man, we started the fall with 62 players. And at the end of our fall in November, I went through exit interviews with 62 players. Every one of them stayed and came back in the spring. I mean, so
Yeah.
our kids believe in what's going on here. And obviously, we haven't had playing time and all those issues yet. Um, but generally speaking, man, our kids are bought in. They're working right now.
Was the portal something that you looked into? I guess I don't know if that's super relevant at the D3 level as much as it is at like the D1 level.
Yeah, so I'll say this: there's not a whole bunch of kids that jump in the portal and their goal is like, man, I'm going to go to a Division 3 program. But because of what we have here from a facility standpoint, from an opportunity to play standpoint, we have done some in the portal. We've taken 7 kids out of there.
Okay.
Um, Definitely haven't overwhelmed the roster with that. You know, we're
Yeah.
we're very committed here to building our roster through developing high school seniors. And we'll always take transfer kids as well to supplement our roster. And so yeah, we have used the portal. We have not overused the portal. But yeah, we will have a few kids on our roster from the transfer portal.
Yeah, and that'll be beneficial in ways. I mean, what years are these kids? Are they, juniors or seniors and have had
Yep.
some experience throughout college football?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of everything, right? So we do have 2 seniors that'll play 1 year with us who have played college football, so they understand what that looks like. We have 2 kids that were true freshmen this past fall that were starters as true freshmen on another college team, right? And then we've got 2 kids that are juniors as well. So yeah, we have a mix, and we were able to create a little bit of, hey, we do have a senior class, not really,
Yeah.
but we have there's a few kids like that, which is great.
No, yeah, definitely. And they can, I'm assuming, take some leadership roles, take some
Yep.
kids under their wing, especially in their position groups, and
Yep.
that'll really help.
Yep.
What would you say the biggest challenge has been so far in creating a program?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge is educating an entire community, university, on what college football is, right? And we've gotten no resistance on that, but it's just a major undertaking for a university that's been a university since 1876 without football. They've existed very well without football, and now we've started football. So just the educational piece of, what does football recruiting look like? What does football from a day-to-day standpoint look like? So that piece it's actually been fun because everybody at Calvin wants to learn. They're excited for football. But I mean, there's been more of that than I thought there would be. Just because no one here has, if they, obviously if they've worked at a different university that had football, they have, but football has never been on this campus before. So the
Yeah.
educational piece of what that looks like every day is new for everybody.
Yeah, but it's exciting. I mean,
Yeah,
definitely exciting. And I mean, there's something special about going to a college football game on Saturday, actually being able to
yeah,
watch it in the stands. In
for
Houghton,
sure.
we always have Michigan Tech, and those are
Yeah,
fun games to go to and watch and
for
enjoyable. And the
sure.
community really, gets around the team and gets behind the team. Doesn't matter how good or bad of a season they're having, the community's always there filling the stands and involved, and that's something special to have.
Yep. And I'll tell you, so we had an inter squad scrimmage this fall with our 62 players. We had 4,000 fans at the inter squad scrimmage
Holy
because
smokes.
people were so excited. I mean, there's just a ton of excitement
Yeah,
around because everybody wants to put on their school colors and go cheer on Saturday afternoon. There's just something special about it.
there is definitely. Well, speaking of that, you're kind of looking ahead at your schedule. Are there any games that really kind of stick out to you? Or, I mean, obviously they're all going to be difficult because they're all programs that have been playing for many years. But are there
Yeah.
any specific
Yep.
games that kind of stick out to you?
Yeah, so we have a great schedule. Our athletic director Jim Timmer has done a great job of scheduling for us, and so obviously the home opener is it's just huge. It's the first game ever. So
Yeah.
there's T-shirts on campus that I guess they've been here for a long time. They say Calvin football undefeated since 1876, right? And so we play our first game on September 7th, which is just really exciting. Really, I'll kind of highlight we have 4 home games, and so
Yeah.
first game, and then our second home game is against Alma. That's homecoming. They finished in the top 8 in the country last year.
Yep. Very good.
Great, great opponent coming in. And then 2 weeks later, we have Hope on campus. And so, if you know anything about the Calvin Hope rivalry, if you look on ESPN, the Calvin Hope basketball rivalry is either number 2 or number 3 in the country of all basketball rivalries. And so, I mean, I heard about this through the interview process, and it's the most um, relevant rivalry I've ever been a part of
Yeah.
in every sport on campus. And so, I mean, that game will be huge, and then we have our last game, which will be, quote unquote, senior day, as our 4 home games. So, our 4 home games this year are just great games. Everyone will be very significant, which is just, I mean, it's really exciting to bring this to this campus.
Yeah. And what are you most excited for? Like looking at this upcoming season as a whole, is it just kind of getting out there and actually kind of seeing what your guys can do and finally playing a game?
Yeah, it will be great to get out there and really set the bar wherever the bar is, get the bar set, and just continue to build and grow. But I also tell our players, like, man, we're coming in here to compete, right? We're not coming in here to just see how it goes. Our players are hungry to compete, and they've been working their tails off. We have good players, right? I mean, our kids are really excited to go play, really excited to compete, and I'm excited to just continue to build the sense of pride. There's a huge sense of pride in West Michigan, really in different pockets all over the country of Calvin graduates. I'm excited to go represent that brand.
Yeah, definitely. It will be exciting. I'm excited for it. I didn't really, know until kind of back in the fall that Calvin had started a football
Yeah,
program. And it's always exciting to kind of then see how things go. And obviously having you on the podcast, I'll be checking in on you guys and waiting
sure.
for that first game. But yeah, it's exciting to have more football in Michigan because there's great football players all across the state in high school.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think sometimes Michigan's kind of overlooked at producing good football talent. People always look at Florida, Texas, California, some of these other states, but there's a lot of great football players in Michigan at all levels. So it's really exciting.
Yep, there's a bunch. And when you look at like when you go to a game on Friday nights, the fan bases here love football. I mean,
Oh yeah.
people love football in the state of Michigan, and that's what makes it even more fun because there's just a ton of excitement about the sport in general.
Yeah. So this kind of goes kind of hand in hand with the culture and the identity, but I figured that the answer could be a little different. Like what's your coaching philosophy? I know some coaches, are really defensive minded. Other coaches, we're gonna run the ball no matter what, or some have more of it's about culture and stuff like that. But kind of like what's your coaching philosophy?
Yep. So when we're talking specifically about I'll start with the X's and O's piece of it. The X's and O's piece, my philosophy, it can be described in one word: explosive. We want to be explosive on offense, explosive on defense, explosive on special teams. And what that means on offense is getting the ball to your playmakers in space and allowing them to make plays. And so if you were to say, like, man, coach, what will your offense look like? We're going to be a balanced attack as far as run pass goes. Now, I also believe that, a quick screen to the perimeter is an extension of your run game, and we'll present double and triple option through tempo as quickly as we can possibly go. And so we will be defined offensively by our tempo and by being able to be explosive. Defensively, we'll be multiple in our schemes: 3-man front, 4-man front, multiple coverage, as much as our players can handle. And then on special teams, our best players will play on special teams. We want to change the game through special teams.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that you do all this through teaching. At my core, I'm a teacher. Every coach on our staff, you've got to be a teacher, right? And so teaching is coaching. I tell people all the time, our classroom is 100 yards long, man. We have the biggest classroom on campus, and we've got to be great teachers. But even more than that, to me, before you can ever win a championship, you have to develop champions. And I like outside my office on the wall, it says champions. We've never even played a game that says champions because our whole deal here is building champions for life. I want our kids to graduate and they're prepared for life.
Hmm.
When the real world kicks them in their teeth, because it will, they can pick themselves back up. Right? Football mirrors life. And so
Yeah.
champions in the classroom, on the field, in the community, and then champions of their faith. And Calvin allows us to do the faith piece really well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We can tell kids the truth, and we can use that platform to do that, which is a really cool opportunity for me, for our staff, and for our players to really grow into that.
Yeah. I think having that kind of fundamental identity as a university of community and faith really
Yep.
is setting you up for success right off the bat without even
Yep.
practicing. And you're going to recruit kids that believe in those ideas when you pitch that idea to them, that
Yep.
kind of stuff is important to them, their faith, being part of a community and all that, and
Yep.
that's right away setting you up for success.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, we want to very much, Calvin's already doing those four areas really well. We want to live right into that with the university.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, kind of just for you, what's your favorite non-football sport? If you're not watching football and you had to watch something else or go to a game, what would it be?
Man, so I love to watch softball live because the game moves fast, right? There's a ton of
Yeah.
action in softball. I have three sons of my own. They all play baseball. They're young, but they play baseball. I love baseball, man. Baseball was my second love for sure. So the baseball softball deal for me, those would definitely be my loves outside of football.
Did you play baseball growing up too as a
I
kid?
did. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I like watching softball too. I mean, the College World Series and baseball too. I mean, really exciting. Good softball. I had the pleasure before COVID of going to a University of Arizona softball game there, and
Oh
they have a
yeah.
cool stadium and a
Yep.
great program, and that was really fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I love the softball action just happens so fast because it's a little bit
Yeah.
smaller field. I mean, yeah, there's just a ton of action in that game.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then who was your football idol growing up? I mean, every kid's kind of got one player that they really looked up to and wanted to model their game off of or whatever. Who'd you really like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Kansas City, so I'm a Chiefs fan. Marcus Allen, Derek Thomas, those guys for me, man, those guys were awesome. I remember watching them on Sundays. Really kind of that whole Chiefs team in that era. But if I would have to name players, it would have been those guys.
Yeah. Are you still a Chiefs fan?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So my wife and I are both from Kansas City, so
Yeah.
we've been through the ups and downs, but right now it's pretty fun to be a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say life is good. A lot of championships, a lot of winning, and it looks
Yes.
like it'll keep going.
I think so. I hope so.
As long as Mahomes is there, I mean, he's
Yeah,
kind of it's a lot to compare somebody to Brady, but he's like Brady in the sense that he can take players and he can make them better. Just that's
absolutely.
how
Yep.
good he is, and that's how
Yep.
good Brady was. So, I
Yep.
mean, that's
They
something special.
they elevate the people around them, which man, that's what when you do that, you've got something special.
Exactly. All right, well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and sharing about Calvin and the football program. It was really interesting to kind of learn how you build a program from scratch. And I wish you guys the best of luck with the season upcoming. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, man. Go Knights.
Yeah.